All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of you out there are having a fantastic day. And as always, thanks for joining the program. Coming up on today's show, we're talking about this gentleman right here, Shaq Leonard, arriving at the Philadelphia International Airport this morning, being escorted through the airport with the head of security for the Eagles and Dom DiSandro, who has become an absolute legend in Philadelphia, also known as Papa Bear to a lot of people in the Eagles organization and South Philly Dom. So this visit for Shaq Leonard, very important because Zach Cunningham is expected to be out against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. He suffered a hamstring injury against the Buffalo Bills in the second quarter, did not return. Christian Ellis had to replace him, and if he's out for an extended period of time, Shaq Leonard coming to Philadelphia makes a lot of sense because the Birds already very thin at that linebacker position. So much to comb through on today's show, but before we get started, make sure you subscribe to Eagles Now for daily updates on the Birds. Let's get to 66,000 subscribers before game day. We're about 117 people away from reaching another milestone. So here is the latest on Shaq Leonard. Met with the Dallas Cowboys on Tuesday. He left Frisco without signing a deal. So he flies to Philadelphia this morning, and that's why he arrived at PHL, and he was greeted by the head of security and Dom DiSandro. And he's going to meet with the Eagles today at the NovaCare Complex. According to Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer, they're going to put him through a workout, and the biggest thing here with Shaq Leonard is the physical. Can he pass it? What do the medicals look like? And when the Eagles put him through that workout, do they believe that he can still be a solid player in this league? Because he has declined with his production, with just the overall eye test after undergoing a couple of back surgeries, which we're about to inform you about. And check out this smile here from Shaq Leonard. Looks as though he's happy to be in Philadelphia, and I'd be happy too to meet with the Eagles as compared to the fraudulent Dallas Cowboys. And shout out to John Clark, NBC Sports Philadelphia, for this photo here. He's also known as Airport Johnny. A lot of nicknames here on the show today, and he's on the case yet again. Anytime an athlete gets traded to a Philadelphia sports team, signs with the Philadelphia sports team, or in this case is meeting with the Philadelphia Eagles, John Clark is always finding a way to talk with sources to figure out which gate that athlete is going to be at. He gets into the airport and always comes through with an interview. In this case, he takes the picture of Shaq Leonard alongside Philly Dom. Of note here, the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday on Tuesday did release cornerback Josiah Scott. They brought him in when they were trying to figure out who was going to fill in that slot cornerback role after Bradley Roby got injured. Josiah Scott with the Eagles for a couple of years previous to this one. And with the Eagles freeing up a roster spot, does that mean that a deal with Shaq Leonard is going to be imminent? Ralph Acciano covers the NFC East, and he said this on Twitter that Shaq Leonard, as we know, arrived in Philadelphia, fresh off his flight from Dallas. He's going to meet with the Eagles today. They need linebacker help. They were already short there, and now Zach Cunningham nursing that hamstring injury. The physical exam will be key. Here is why. Shaq Leonard has a lengthy injury history, specifically with his back. And let's go through what has happened with his back, because since undergoing a couple of back surgeries, he simply has not been that three-time All-Pro player that he was to start his career, which is what set himself up for a massive payday to become, in 2021, the highest-paid off-ball linebacker in the National Football League. In December of 2020, this is when the back injuries started to come to light. Shaq Leonard suffered a lower back injury in Week 14. And then he returned in Week 15. All good for a little while outside of a couple of other injuries, but then in June of 2022, had a bulging disc in his back. I would imagine that maybe that lower back injury suffered in 2020, lingered for a little while. He didn't get that injury operated on, and then it started to cause him some issues because he got surgery in June of 2022. He was back to practice in August. And then in November of 2022, he had another setback and another surgery. Any doctor that you will talk to, Any type of health professional, especially if you go the holistic route, will tell you you always try to avoid back surgeries as much as you can. Because once you undergo a back surgery, sometimes that human body just isn't the same. Because everything, your nervous system, pretty much goes through the spine. That's why chiropractic is so prevalent nowadays for those people who are looking for natural remedies. And you look at Shaq Leonard's first 4 years of his career. This is when he was making consecutive Pro Bowls. This is when he was a 3-time first-team All-Pro. He's a second-round pick out of South Carolina State by the Indianapolis Colts. Gets off to a roaring start in his NFL career. 122 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 8 forced fumbles as a rookie. Following year, even better. 132 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and 3 forced fumbles. The consistent theme here, making plays in the backfield, making plays in the pass game, and also just being a game changer with the TFLs, but also forcing turnovers, as well as interceptions with those fumbles. 2019, superb season. 121 tackles once again, 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and then in 2018, I got the order backwards here. So 2018 as a rookie all the way up through 2021. The rookie season is 2018. That's when he has 163 tackles, 7 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, and 4 forced fumbles. And then up from there, the production is still really good. There has been a decline in sacks from the bottom of your screen up until 2021. But the same thing remained constant with Shaq Leonard. He was a tackling machine. He was really good in coverage. He was making plays behind the line of scrimmage. You could use him against the pass, but also as a blitzer. And the instincts, the range, the speed, the athleticism, they were terrific. And now you look at the 2018 to 2021 per year averages. This is what he was doing per season to start his career in those first 4 years before he landed the highest contract ever again for an off-ball linebacker in that 2021 offseason, unseating Fred Warner, who signed that deal right before Shaq Leonard did. Per year, he was averaging almost 86 solo tackles, just under 4 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss, 7.5 pass breakups, which is really good, and 4 forced fumbles per season. The issue here is that since those back surgeries, the last 2 years, he has not played a lot. He played in 70% of the snaps with the Indianapolis Colts this year before being released, and last year barely played at all, only 3 games. And in those 12 games combined the last 2 years, a far cry from what he did in the first 4 years of his career. Goose egg for sacks, goose egg for forced fumbles, and only 1 tackle for loss. So clearly this is a declining player, but on this Eagles defense with a lot more talent, can he find that flame once again, reignite it, and help out this Eagles defense down the stretch, especially considering they need help at that linebacker spot? Because right now, Philadelphia is so thin. They're so thin to the point they might be forced to sign Shaq Leonard. Plus, if you're in his shoes, it's the Philadelphia Eagles over the Dallas Cowboys any day of the week, because the motto here in the city of brotherly love is F Dallas. And in all seriousness, right? Which team has a better opportunity to win a Super Bowl? Cowboys are really good. Eagles are truly elite, the best team in the National Football League. Hopefully his relationship with Nick Sirianni and how revered Howie Roseman is, on top of also Shaq Leonard having a great relationship with Devontae Smith, who he works out with in the offseason as part of this early breakfast club that was highlighted by the Philadelphia Inquirer, in which they work out very early in the morning. They can convince him to come to Philadelphia to help this team out. With that, we pop up our poll question for today's show. Do you want the Birds to sign Shaq Leonard? Give me an S for sign or a P for pass. Let your voices be heard down in the comment section. More to get to here on the show. First, Philadelphia Eagles Now is sponsored by Prize Picks. Get a $100 deposit match on the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. Myself and producer Chip, we have won so much real money playing daily fantasy sports throughout this football season, but now that the NBA season is in full swing, you can combine your NFL as well as your NBA picks. You choose more or less on 2+ players' projected stat lines, and it makes game day or game night so much more fun. Some picks that we like going into Thursday Night Football: Geno Smith against this Cowboys defense, less than 228.5 passing yards, Tony Pollard, more than a half passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown combined. So all he has to do is find the end zone once. And then Brandon Aubrey, more than 1.5 field goals made. Get signed up today, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS for that $100 deposit match. Continuing on this conversation with Shaq Leonard, let's get to Zach Cunningham now. Because according to Jeff McClain, a reason why the Eagles might be inking Leonard to a deal is that Zach Cunningham is expected to be out this week against San Francisco and possibly longer. Here's the latest from the Philadelphia Inquirer's own McClain. Even if Shaq Leonard eventually signs with the Eagles, it's unlikely he'd be ready to play on Sunday against the 49ers. That would suggest that Christian Ellis starts alongside middle linebacker Nicholas Morrow, and the Eagles have already lost Nakobe Dean to a foot injury and Sean Bradley to an Achilles injury to likely season-ending ailments this year. It's already Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, so to expect Shaq Leonard to play in a game of this magnitude against this quality of an opponent in the San Francisco 49ers, extremely unlikely. This is a move that you make for the remainder of the year. The Eagles' linebacker injuries, though, it does play a role, and it is significant for this week's game on Sunday because the Niners, with Kyle Shanahan's offense and the strengths of Brock Purdy, they love to target the intermediate area of the field. That's 10 to 19 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. The 49ers' strength offensively through the air is targeting that section of the field. And that's one of the biggest Eagles' weaknesses. For the second straight season, Brock Purdy leading the NFL in efficiency on intermediate passes, averaging 13 yards per attempt. The Eagles' biggest defensive struggles come on such passes between the hashes, where they've allowed a QBR of 95.6. I put linebacker play in parentheses because the Eagles have struggled with their linebacking play this year in guarding against the pass. And if you're without Zach Cunningham, he's been relied upon a lot this year. He ranks second on the team with 71 tackles. He's totaled 4 pass breakups, which is the most of any Eagles off-ball linebacker this year. He's played 82.8% of the Eagles' defensive snaps, which is also the most among the team's linebackers, and that ranks third among all defensive players. So he has been a steady presence at the second level of that Eagles defense, and while him and Nicholas Morrow have struggled a little bit in pass coverage, I actually think that they've been at least solid options considering the money that you're paying them and when they were brought into this organization. So with that, some question marks for this Eagles defense going into this Niners game. Who you got? Preview coming a little bit later today. We put together that preview and talked about it during our live show yesterday. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did watch, and you should watch all the time, SF or PHI, get those predictions in. Let's round out the show with this. Desean Jackson is going to retire as a Philadelphia Eagle on Friday. One of his most iconic moments, miracle at the Meadowlands #2, when the Eagles stunned the Giants and coming back, just shocking. Eli Manning, Tom Coughlin that day, Desean Jackson with the walk-off punt return for a touchdown. What an electrifying career for Desean Jackson. Eagles selecting him in the Andy Reid regime back in the 2009 draft, second-round pick, 49th overall, and they got a great player at excellent value there who is so dynamic and breathtaking. He spent 8 of his 15 seasons with the Birds, 3 Pro Bowls with the Philadelphia Eagles. In franchise history, he ranks 3rd in receiving yards, so one of the best wide receivers in the history of this great organization. He is 6th in catches, 9th in receiving touchdowns. He's tied for 1st alongside Darren Sproles for the most punt return touchdowns in Eagles history with 4. And he didn't just have an electrifying career with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a dynamic home run threat with the Eagles, with Washington, with Tampa Bay, a little bit with the Los Angeles Rams. He is tied for 1st all time in the history of the league with 50-plus yard touchdowns. So anytime he got his hands on the football, he was a threat to take it to the crib. And now, fittingly, ends his career, retiring officially as an Eagle after 15 seasons in the National Football League. He lasted a long time in this league, considering how slight and small he was. Made an impact from year one when the Eagles made it to the NFC Championship game in 2009 before falling to the Arizona Cardinals, and then he was terrific. Never should have been traded away by the fraud Chip Kelly, but the numbers that he did put up when he was with Philadelphia were spectacular. He came back with the Eagles, was injured a lot, but even then, still had a couple of 50-plus yard explosive plays when Carson Wentz and then Jalen Hurts was the quarterback back a couple of years ago. He is going to be the honorary captain for the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday. So spam 10 to congratulate D-Jax. All-time Eagle, fantastic career. Appreciate everybody for watching. If Shaq Leonard signs with the Birds, we're going to bring you the best content, most likely go live, so keep an eye out for that, and that's why you turn on your notifications. Therefore, when we do go live, you will be notified.